All right, guys, let's kick off our editing with the basics adjustment panel and some of the key features within it. So we're going to look at highlights versus whites and shadows versus blacks. So let's just hop on over and take a look at this photo as we put on the adjustments. Okay, so first up, let's talk about highlights versus whites. So many of these adjustments are very similarly related. So our highlights and whites, obviously very closely related. But what I want you to think is look at my histogram as I adjust my whites. So the white is going to affect your tonal value of the white point, right? So I know that's like a lot of crazy words, and honestly, I don't frankly worry about the technical term of it. But just that helps you visualize. Know that your white is adjusting your white point. So if you want more contrast, up here. If you want it to be softer, down here. Okay, so highlights is a fine-tuned. It affects like a smaller area of the whites, if that makes sense. So think of it like Big Daddy affects everything. Little baby, little area. So let me get into her skin because you can see, so right here, we're a little bit hot in the highlights. So you can see I can bring down primarily that area of highlight by bringing down the highlights, right? Okay. So when you are making these adjustments, let me do a side-by-side comparison because I always think it helps. So let's just take our highlights down to 20. Actually, let's go crazy. Let's go 60. Ooh, minus 60. Let's take our whites down to minus 60. Okay. So if we look at these nice and close, do you see what that does to our skin? And this is what I want you guys to think about. So when you're trying to achieve those like creamy, softer skin tones, you're not going to want to like smash the highlights. I know it feels like you should to keep it nice and flat. That's not where it's happening. Take a look right here. It is actually happening in your whites. You're lowering the amount of contrast for your white point. So that's going to get you that creamier, softer looking skin without dirty. Do you see how if you lower the highlights there, how you actually see all the detail in your skin, which isn't what you want? So I will typically keep my highlights up higher or like not smash them kind of thing. And then I will drag down my whites to adjust. And you see how we're getting that creamy skin tone that I'm sure many of you are trying to achieve. That's how it's done. All right. So then let's take a look at the other portion of this. Our shadows versus blacks. So same thing, the black overall tonal value. Look at your histogram as I am dragging this side to side to see how it does crazy things. So when I drag it here, you're going to have much richer, darker blacks, much more contrast. This is softer, lighter blacks if you're going for a more matte look. So like I said, how highlights are related to whites, shadows are related to blacks. So this is going to affect a specific area. So it's going to affect the shadows of an image. So let's do a side-by-side comparison of these two. So let's put this, we're going to go negative 60. And then we're going to go negative 60. Okay, so the one on the left is just our shadows. You can see how we're primarily just bringing down our the shadows themselves. This, by adjusting your blacks, you're adjusting your tonal value of your image and giving it more contrast. So when you're editing, you can use the two of them hand in hand to really refine your shadows. So if you want to keep a rich color, you'll keep your blacks lower, right? But then if you want to maintain detail, like let's say his hair is getting too dark, you'll refine it in the shadows. I hope those were some helpful little nuggets of information for you guys. Just remember, as you're editing, your blacks and whites relate to your tonal value and the contrast of those points. So your white point and your black point. Highlights and shadows are more for fine tuning and adjusting specifically those areas, the highlight or the shadow.